Okay, so you chose your destination. Now I'm going to go ahead and talk about some of these other things we have. You're going to create a travel plan. This is the sheet that you're going to be using. These are the things you need to have. Of course, your name is going to go up here, and the date of your trip, and the time of the departure. Then, the name of the place you're going to be visiting. You'll find the address, including the zip code for that, because you'll need that on Google Maps. Then with Google Maps, you use that to figure out the miles that you're going to use to travel. Then what is the cost? If you go to a place, is there a ticket cost to get in, entertainment costs, excursions, whatever else, additional charges, then that's going to be in there. Important things you need to bring for your trip because you got to plan. What time you think you will arrive there. So that's where you're going to use your departure time and the distance and the miles, and it shows you the rough time there so you can figure out what time you'll arrive there. Of course, you're going to need to have gas, so we got to figure out first off how many gallons of gas you're going to need. This is where you're going to have to do some formulas. So you're going to use the formula miles per gallon divided by, your miles you're driving divided by 20. So the distance in your travel divided by 20. We're going to use 20. Just figure roughly if your car gets more or less, then that would be different. But we're just going to use 20 to make it easy. So your miles divided by 20. That'll give you your miles per gallon, or your gallons of gas that you'll need. And then we're going to use the state average of 402. And we can use this link here to see what the state average is. I checked that, and then the state average is 402. Might be different in different areas, but we'll just go with that one. So you'll use the miles per gallon that you figured out here. You multiply that times 4.02. And then this is your total cost. So that will be how much you need to spend in fuel plus your cost for your entertainment. And that will give you your total needed there. So that's how you're going to fill that out. Now, that's not something you're going to do right away. You're going to probably want to start with a Google Doc to take some notes. So you'd pick your location. So let's say I'm going to go find the Goonies house. I want to go see the Goonies house. So I would look up the Goonies house, and there's different things, different links. Could find out where it is. We need to find the address and stuff. So let's check this link here. Goonies house, talking about something's going to be sold, and need to get the address for Goonies house. If I can't find it in this article, then I could say back up in my Google Sheets, Goonies house address. And it'll show something. Here it is. Hey, here's one that shows right here. It looks like there's the link, or a link to MapQuest. Gives me address, and here's the address right here. So I would select that address. I like using Google Maps, so I'm going to copy that there, and I'm going to go back to Google, and we'll go to Google Maps. And all I'm going to do is go to Google Maps. I'm going to find the distance here. So we'll start with put in the address that I found for the Goonies house. Shows where it is, and then I need directions to get there. So I click on directions, starting point. I'll say the 240 North C Street because that's the school address here. So C Street and Buckley, right there we go. 240 North C Street, Buckley, Washington, and it'll give me directions. And then it shows me here, the top one, it shows me the fastest route. It's going to be 3 hours, 6 minutes, 167 miles. So I would start with, in my notes, Goonies house. And with the address, we go back to our Google Maps. And the address is this one here. So I'm going to copy that address. I'm just taking notes because you want to have that in here. There's the address. And I know that this is, like I said, 3 hours, 6 minutes, 167 miles. So we'll say 3 hours just for kicks and giggles, and 167 miles. So there's my notes. So there's the first place. Now, that's a long time to drive, and I'm going to stop and get lunch on the way. So what I want to do is try to find some places to eat on the way there. So I would go back to my Google Maps, and I can see the route here. So I can kind of look anywhere along the route. I can say, let's say somewhere, this is roughly in the middle somewhere. So I'm going to click on this area here. I'm going to zoom in on this area here. And then here in this area, I want to find some restaurants. So I can look in Chehalis is where I'm at there. And we can look for some other things. So let's see, nearby. You got to use the maps here. Here's restaurants nearby. So I'm going to click on some restaurants nearby. And it shows me a bunch of restaurants. So I can find places here, Applebee's, McCoskey here, whatever. So let's say we choose Applebee's. So I can click on the Applebee's and it gives me this information. Here's an address for Applebee's. So let's choose Applebee's. So I can say, okay, we're going to go ahead and this address here, let's 1670 Northwest Louisiana, Northwest Louisiana. So Applebee's, 1617 Northwest Louisiana. And you just go back, and that's where you're going to find your information. So we're going to be doing that information. I get the address, including the zip code, because all that has to be on there. And once I find that address, if I click on this, let's copy this address here. Copy. I can put that right back in here. That would be a lot easier than what I was trying to do here. Paste that in there, and I also have that address. So when I go back to my Google Maps, close this, we'll click on the X, and we're going to go click on the X. Now we're back to our map here. So back to the map, I'll put in that address, and then I'll say directions, and it'll say from where. We'll say 240 North C Street again until it comes up in Buckley. So now I have the distance from Buckley to my first stop. And then I would use that when I'm doing, so now that one there is, it's going to be an hour and a half, 75 miles. So that one's going to be 1 hour, 30 minutes, and 75 miles. So you start planning out your trip. So I know that one is from there. And then I can do from this address, I can put that in there and go directions to my stop. And that will give me the two spots. So then on my travel destination, I would start with my first place is Applebee's. Then my next place would be my stop to where I'm going. So what you're going to do is start planning out your whole plan here. So I'd start on there. Let's say I find my Porky's Public House where I want to go first. I get the address, and it's 121 miles to there. And so then I figure out, okay, what am I going to eat there? I can look at their menu, and that's where we're going to find information about my trip. So find their menu and see kind of what I want to eat. So I figure that, how much that's going to cost, things I need to bring, empty stomach because I'm going to eat there. And I figure from, if I leave at 6 a.m., and it's 121 miles, it's going to take me a couple hours. That'll get me there about 8 o'clock. And then my gas that I need, how many gallons of gas I need. So I take, again, my formula is going to be 121 miles divided by 20 miles per gallon. And that's going to give me, I need 6.05 gallons of gas. And then my formula here for my fuel, how much it's going to cost is 6 gallons of gas, which is in G5, times my 4.02, which is how much gas costs. So that equals, and I can see my formula here is equal G5 times H3. So my miles per gallon times my cost for my fuel per gallon, and that gives me my total. And then my total here on what I need is going to be adding how much my fuel cost plus how much I'm going to spend at my first location, and that's what I need on that one. And then I get to my next stop, the Goonies house, and same thing. I put in the information there, the address. It's 48 miles from my Porky's Public House to Goonies house, and there's no cost there. I just need my sweatshirt and a camera. I'm going to get there about 10 o'clock when I figure out from my miles that I'm driving after I eat, 10 o'clock. And then to get there from the last place at 48 miles divided by 20 miles per gallon, I would need almost 2.5 gallons of gas. So 2.4 gallons of gas times my fuel cost is going to give me my $9.65. Of course, I'm not going to be fueling each time, so I would do this ahead of time, but it tells me how much it's going to cost to get to that next location. Then my total for this section of the trip is $9.65 because that's going to be the fuel I need. And of course, there's no extra cost at the Goonies house, so that's all I need on that one. So I do that for each stop. Then after there, I decide to go somewhere else. And after I do that for each stop, then I do the same thing for going home. And when I'm all done, I'll have the cost for each stop, what it would cost for each stop, and returning home. That's my final destination is home. And then I can have a total, and this is going to be another formula here that shows me what it's going to cost me total for the whole trip. I'm also going to do totals for how much it's going to cost for all my entertainment costs. That's my total entertainment costs. And then how many gallons of gas that I'm going to need overall, 12.3 gallons of gas. So I know when I fill up in the morning how many gallons I need to have to finish my trip and how much I'm going to spend on gas and fuel alone. So I can have those there and add those up, and those should end up being the same as my total cost. So now I know what my family trip is going to cost me. I can let my parents know, and they can decide whether we want to take this trip or not, or if we want to say, okay, you know what, we're going to save some money. We're not going to eat food on the way back. We're going to just skip that one. That would save this much money, so they can kind of look at maybe cutting costs down, or they can say where we're going to spend more. So there you go. You're going to fill this stuff out. Like I said, start with a notes sheet that you put down your information. That'll make it easier to start filling things out. And on your trip plan, then you'll have links to other things like your Google Docs. You'll create a Google Doc that has information about all your stops, kind of each place that you're going to stop, maybe a picture on there, also credit where you get any information. And in your trip plan itself, you're going to have your slides. So on your slides themselves, you're going to have your trip plan. So your first slide is going to be your destination with picture, information, and your name would be on there. So I would have to add on this here. Spell your name right, that would be better. So you'll have your information on your intro slide, and then on your slides, you're going to show your destination. You're going to have information just kind of presenting your whole presentation. This is selling the trip. This is where you're going to really get some information out there to your parents so they can say, yeah, I want to do this. Links on each one of the slides that can take you to the website for whatever that first destination is. So in this case, I've got Porky's Public House where we're going to stop and eat. And I even have maybe a link here that's, okay, I'm going to have the coconut shrimp. So that takes me to their menu. So I can kind of look at some stuff. Oh, there's coconut shrimp. I like the coconut shrimp. And then when we get to the Goonies house, the time there, and we've got information on the Goonies house. So this is a picture of the Goonies house as it is. And then we have a link here to the Goonies house where this person bought the house now and they're going to restore it. Then we have other stops. So after the Goonies house, we're going to decide to go to the wreck of Peter Iredale. And this was a shipwreck that happened years ago. And actually, it used to be pretty cool. This thing was out there when I was younger. I went there and you could kind of walk through it when no tide was down. So pretty cool. But now it's, just talks about the trip and what happened with that shipwreck. And now it's kind of withered away to the weather and everything. But I can look for some sand dollars when I'm on the beach there. And then another link here, maybe taking you about information on sand dollars. Talks about the spiritual meaning of sand dollars and the legend of the sand dollar and that kind of stuff, and more about them. And all that stuff I can use when I make my document. Then I talk about different things. So it talks about the shipwreck there and about sand dollars and some unique information. And then as you're continuing on through the rest of your trip, on your way home, places you're going to stop, and I decide to stop at the state capitol. There we go. We can stop there and see some information on the state capitol itself. So all of these things links, and then I have a link to my travel plan, and that's that document that I showed you. It shows you all the information so I can see what my trip is going to cost me, and then trip information and details, and that is the Google Doc here that we're talking about, all the trip itself. So this is a culminating final that's going to take you through your creating your trip plan, showing information, showing you your skills on a Google Doc, showing your skills on the Google Slides and Google Sheets, putting formulas, links, and all that kind of thing. So a lot to do. Have some fun with it, and we'll see you on the flip side.